Hello guys, welcome back. Welcome watching another episode of our Kärcher HD class video tutorial. In today's part I'll show you problem with the power washer on the right hand side. It's a twin of the Karcher commercial HD 5/15C. It's from German company WURTH, and I'll show you what's the problem with the machine. When you start it, it should stop when you release the trigger. When you press the trigger, it should start to produce the pressure, but it doesn't work like that, and I will show you now how it looks. You can see yourself that the start-stop function doesn't work at all, and it can be caused by various problems or reasons. One of them can be problem with the control piston set, it means start-stop ventil, or the problem with the unloader valve or overflow valve, and the problem can be also the microswitch. So we have to diagnose it and try to solve the problem. The good thing is that we've got the twin on the left hand side, and we can use parts to swap them for testing, because the power washer on the left hand side works great, so it doesn't have this kind of problem. As you can see, I put the power washer into lying position on its back, and what we will need a socket key number 21, a thin flat screwdriver. If you don't have such a socket key, you can use the key for the spark plugs, and I have already disassembled the Kärcher HD 5/15C, and I took away the control piston set, or so-called start-stop valve, and now I can take off the start-stop valve from this power washer. I'll use the thin flat screwdriver to take out the U-pin, plastic U-pin, which is safety feature. Now take off the microswitch like this. Now I've got access to start-stop valve, or as the Karcher call it, control piston set. You know, some of the O-rings, I see two O-rings over here, and one is inside, and some of them can be worn out, and that can cause a problem. But as I mentioned before, the problem can lie somewhere else too. Over here you've got such a rubber. There are some few drops per hour allowed to leak from here under the machine. I'll swap it for the good one, that I know for sure that is good one, and then we can test the machine again. Don't over tighten it, use reasonable force. It's good like that. Now I'll attach again the microswitch and the plastic U-pin. And now we can test it again. I have attached a water flow, it means the water supply is connected, high pressure hose. Over here I've got the control piston set or start-stop valve that was installed before, that we suspect was bad. It's moving, it's not stuck, so we will see if this was a problem or not. I'll turn on the machine and we will see. As you can see, the problem wasn't start-stop valve. It works exactly the same way as it worked before. It means that we can rule out the start-stop valve and we move towards the second reason that can be problem, and it is a unloader valve, or as Karcher call it, overflow valve. Before that, I'll of course replace back the start-stop valve, because it doesn't make any difference if there will be the old one or the one from another machine. So we have ruled out two possible problems so far. The first one I didn't even mention, and it was leaks, for example. If you've got massive leaks over here, for example, or over there, this can be a possible problem that can cause that machine doesn't stop and it keeps running even if you don't have pressed the trigger. So the first one was leaks. There were no leaks. The second one was the control piston set or start-stop valve. You could see yourself that I replaced it for the good one, and it didn't help. The problem persists, and now we move forward towards the third possible problem, and it's a unloader valve. It looks like this. This one is a good one from the donor machine. Let's call it donor machine. This one is good one, so I'll try to swap it and we can test machine again if the problem persists. We will see. To check whether the unloader valve is stuck and it's causing problem, you have to use following tools: pliers, the longer version of the pliers, like this, wrench number 17, maybe a thin flat screwdriver can help also, and in case that it's stuck inside and you can't take it out, you can use a WD-40. The unloader valve is over here. You don't have to remove this knob. What you have to do is to use a wrench number 17 and release this screw like this. This is a knob that controls the pressure. So when you move it clockwise, you lower the pressure. When you move it anti-clockwise, you increase the pressure. So now I want to take it out, so I remove it by anti-clockwise movement, like this. It's done. And now there is a brass element. It's not a washer exactly, it's some kind of brass element, and you have to take it out. I'll show you how it looks. It looks like this, and you have to take it out somehow. So it means if it's stuck, use a WD-40 and then use this longer version of the pliers and try to take it out. If it doesn't go, try to use a thin flat screwdriver, just move it a little bit. Yeah, now it's alright, so maybe I will be able to take it out. Be careful because the brass is soft and you don't want to damage it. Honestly, I was struggling to take it out even with the longer version of the pliers, and I had to use pliers like this. So when you press them, they are opening, and then I was able to take it out. Now in the next step I have to take out this part. So it means unload the valve, and the way how I'll do it is that I'll do this and take it out. You see? It went smoothly. And now I'll replace it with the unloader valve that I know for sure that works great, and we will test the machine again whether this was the problem or not. I'll put back the brass element. And now I can install again the knob with this part, with this brass part that is controlling the pressure. So it means that I have to turn it clockwise this time. And in the end, I'll use the wrench number 17 to tighten it, like this. Use reasonable force, don't overdo it, it's not necessary to over tighten it. That's it, and now we can test the machine again, whether it will be working like it should. It means that the engine will be running only when the trigger is pressed. When the trigger is released, the engine should stop. If the unloader valve wasn't the problem will persist. So we have swapped the unloader valve, or some people call it overflow valve, for the good one from the donor machine, and now we are going to test whether this was the problem or not. There is no need for every single test to install again the front plastic cover, whether this one or if you've got Karcher, this one. So the water is connected, high pressure hose is connected, and now I'll turn on the machine and we will see whether the problem persists. You can see yourself that the engine won't stop when I release the trigger, and it should. So it means that the unloader valve is not a problem. The previous one was alright. So we now for sure know that we can rule out the first leaks, second problem possible, the control piston set or start-stop valve, it's alright as well. And the third possible problem was the unloader valve, and we just tested and it's not the case. So now we move forward to the fourth possible problem, and it can be a faulty microswitch or stuck microswitch. I'll show you what you have to check. Before I'll move to the next step, it means to check the microswitch, I'll of course swap the unloader valve the way how it was before my test. And now we are going to check the fourth possible problem that can cause that the engine is not stopping when the trigger is released, and it's a microswitch. It's this part, and I recommend you to check it as a second possible problem after the leaks. I haven't done it for the one simple reason, because I wanted to show you what else can possibly cause this condition. For this part, to check the microswitch, whether it's faulty or stuck, you will need only a thin flat screwdriver to take out the plastic U-pin from over here, and then you just take out the microswitch, and you see that it's stuck. This part should be moving, and it's not moving. I'll swap the machines for the good power washer, and you will see how I'll be able to somehow click with this microswitch, and you will hear the clicks. Over here you've got microswitch, and now listen. Can you hear it? This little button or knob should be clicking, and then when the control piston set is moving, when the pressure is changing, this microswitch through this knob is giving a signal over here to the machine, and then the engine stop when you release the trigger. So now we know that the microswitch is faulty or bad, and I'll try to unstuck it, but whether I'll succeed I don't know yet. What I'll do, I will spray a little bit of a WD-40 inside, and then try to get this little knob moving, and we will see. If it won't be possible, I'm not sure if it is possible to disassemble this part, I don't know. But then if you won't be able to do it, what you have to do, you have to just buy a new microswitch and replace it, and then the machine will work. So I'll try to get it moving. Now I'll show you better detail of the microswitch. You see, this over here is stuck inside. It should be moving. So what I'll do, I'll spray a little bit of WD-40 inside. And then maybe wait and use a thin flat screwdriver, or maybe a carefully needle, and try to get it out and moving again. Finally I was able to get this little knob of the microswitch moving. I took it out, but unfortunately there must be some kind of spring underneath it. That's why you can hear the clicks when you press it, if it works as it should. so with the needle I got it out, but you can press it back inside and there is no spring. It means it doesn't work and it won't work. It means that I have to get the product number of the Microswitch, the price, and get a new one, because I think this whole thing is sealed and it's not possible to open it and replace the spring, for example. But in the end of the video I'll at least show you how it should work when the Microswitch is alright and it's working, how the machine should behave. We are approaching the end of the video, and in the end we will do the final testing. Conclusion is that the machine on the left hand side, they're practically more or less identical, only the one has the brand WURTH HDR 160 master, and the one on the right hand side is Karcher commercial HD 5/15C. The conclusion is that the Microswitch of the machine on the left hand side is broken, it's faulty, and it's probably not possible to fix it, so we have to get a new one and replace it. Maybe I'll record the video about it, who knows. And in the end I'll show you how behaves the machine with the broken Microswitch and how behaves the machine which has a good Microswitch and works perfectly well. First we will test the machine with the broken Microswitch, the faulty one. And now we will test the Karcher commercial HD 5/15C, which works perfectly well. But before I start, I'll tell you one thing. Even if you've got broken Microswitch, like the one on the machine on the left hand side, you can still use machine. Because as you can see, it's working, it's creating pressure. Only what happens when you release the trigger, the engine won't stop. But if you remember the times like 25-30 years ago, most of these machines didn't have a start-stop ventil. So it means when you released the trigger on the high pressure gun, the engine kept running, and when you pressed the trigger, the engine started to create even a pressure. It was called bypass system. So you can still use such a machine, only the engine will be running even if you don't wish. Now I'll show you how the Karcher machine works. And that was the last part of our video. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day and good luck.